Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the experience and decision that shape who we have become. Today's guest is Vanya Boardman, co-founder of Play Involve and co-author of the Innovation Imperative. She works with leaders and organizations to transform disengaged team into creative, high-performing culture by strengthening psychological safety, communication, and collaboration. With experience across multiple industries, Vanya help our businesses unlock innovation by focusing on human side of performance. It's really a pleasure and honor having you on the show, Vanya.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure. So, Vanya, can you take us back to the experience that first made you notice disengagement in a workplace as a real problem?
I think if I go back far enough, it's actually the experience that made me realize it was a problem was I worked in an organization where I had a lot of engagement and I felt that my voice mattered and my opinions mattered. And then I changed organizations and I went into a different industry, different organization, and it was lacking. So I no longer had it. And that
Yeah,
was really what created that, there's a huge difference in my mental well-being and my personal well-being and my ability to output to not just work but to my personal life as well when I feel like I'm part of the work, that I can show up for work as my full self, that I don't have to hide part of it or not
yeah.
share ideas because someone will shoot them down. So I was working in a startup company. It started out as a telecom startup company. We were making easy to use mobile phones for aging Americans. So it had a dial tone, it had big numbers, it had really big text, and you could hit zero and get to an operator. And when I was
Mm,
working in this organization, I started out pretty young and I grew with the organization. But even what I started out as the executive assistant, but even as the executive assistant, if I had an idea, it was listened to, it was considered. Even as, we may not be able to do that right now, but let's pocket that. Someone always listened. I think
mm,
the other thing that happened is, so 6 months into that job, we were doing an event for like local clients, like our first people that tried the product in the area. So we were doing this event for them and we created t-shirts. And our CEO had created this t-shirt, I don't know, when he was out with his friends or whatever. And he came in and he's like, "Isn't this t-shirt great?" And he shows me this t-shirt. And I look at him and I was like, "Have you considered our target market? Like, whoever designed this should be fired." Literally said this. And at the moment, I didn't know that he had created it. He was like, "I created this." I'm like, "Oh, foot mouth moment." My is in my mouth, and he runs over to the head of HR, whose office was right next to where I was, and he runs in. He's like, "What do you think of this T-shirt?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, boss, that's great." And you could see it on her face that it wasn't. And I stomp in there. I'm like, "Don't lie to him. Tell him the truth." So she's like, "It's horrible. It's really bad. It doesn't fit." And sure enough, he was like, "Okay, well, I still want to hire, I want to order, like 25 of these just for memory's sake. But okay, we need to develop something else for the client." And so very early on, I realized that I was allowed to say, "Hey, boss, I don't think you're thinking right here." And
yeah,
he would take it with a grain of salt and actually consider my ideas. And then, like I said, many years later, I ended up going into a whole different industry, telecom. I
yeah,
then went into like health tech, but it was when I went into commercial real estate that it was just a completely different industry. Commercial real estate is very cutthroat, it's very competitive, and my speaking up like that wasn't quite as loved. And so I had to dial back part of who I was in that experience. And that was really where I said, we need to help organizations and industries of all types open up doors where it is okay. Even in the industry where it's not necessarily
okay,
like open,
yes,
we can create environments where it is okay to have that, even in that industry. We can create groups where we bring them in and say, "This is the time. We're going to open up the door for experiment. This is a space for you to speak out, speak up, challenge the status quo, and it's all in fun." But real ideas and real challenges can be tackled and discussed during those moments of playful creative space. So that's my experience of how I got into the business of we need to be doing this more and we need to find a system and a process that brings it to more industries and companies.
yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So was there a defining moment where you saw clearly the impact of low psychological safety on people and performance?
Yes. So It was, I would even say my own. So while I was working in this industry, that I really felt that I couldn't bring my whole self.
Mm.
I went through a period of time where I just never, like, truly would actually, if I go back a little bit, I was just talking with a couple HR professionals that I know and I'm good friends with, CHR level, CHRO level. And they're like, Vanya, you always talk about psychological safety. Like, do you really like the term? And I was like, that's so funny. I was like, I don't know if I like the term, but it is the term that we have. And so both of them kind of shared that, like, it's a vague term for me. Like, it feels like something that's unattainable, and I don't necessarily love it, but I'm in the HR world, so I get it. It's part of our world.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what it was for me was that I knew psychological safety. I studied it. It had been in all of, all through my master's program. It was a really big part of the program. It was something I cared about. I had read a lot about it. I've been following Amy Edmondson for years. But it wasn't until it was lacking that I realized exactly what it was and
What is
how
it?
important it was, right? It was when I didn't have it that it was truly detrimental to my personal well-being. I worked so hard. I put in hours and hours and hours. So it didn't necessarily stop my productivity. I just don't think I was as good as I would have been. I wasn't putting in my full self and holding myself accountable. It was like, just get it done, just get it done, just get it done. And then on the weekends, I had no time for my friends or my family, kids. I literally would have to sleep. Like, I need to go to bed. I need to be in bed. I don't get out of bed. I mean, there was almost, it was a recovery. My weekends were for recovery. They were like to get the energy to go back and do it again, to be in this environment where I didn't feel like I quite fit in, to be
Yeah.
honest. And pretty much any idea that I had was going to be shut down one way or another.
Mm.
And if it wasn't shut down fully, it wasn't given credit to me. Like, I brought it up a week ago and now someone else is taking credit for it. Okay, that's what we got.
Yeah, that must has really been a whole lot owing to the fact that you're in an organization where speaking out was, yeah, actually more like giving credit to, and the fact that you were recognized for every suggestion you make to a particular more like environment where you're not even expected to speak out. And even if you speak out, no one actually more like pay attention to it. And even if they do, no one credit you with the outcome. Yeah, it's really a whole lot. So what emotion or pattern do you mostly see?
What emotion? Ooh, well, it's fear, right? There's truly an
Hmm,
underlying feeling of fear. So in this organization that I was in, from the very first day that I was there, I would hear things like, "I can't make that decision. I'll get in trouble." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't make the decision whether to buy a $20 part or not? What do you mean at the head of IT you can't make the decision to buy backup laptops that are totally in your realm?" But it existed. Those kind of decisions had to go up to the highest level. There were bottlenecks. And so that was what struck me the most, was that there was this underlying fear, but the words were said on a regular basis. "We're going to get in trouble for that. We can't do that. I can't do that.
ooh,
I can't make that decision." And I was like, well, then none of us can get anything done ever, because those are decisions that all of us should be able to
yeah.
make at any time in a really well functioning organization. And so, I mean, it was at the end, and, in hindsight, I look back and it's not surprising that I struggled in that environment, because it's not the environment where you're going to get the best out of me. So I'm
Yeah.
an ideator, like, literally, like, I've taken, all kind of assessments and everything, and I am an ideator. That is like part of my identity. I just like to throw out ideas, and I love to pilot. So I'm an ideator and an implementer. The developing and the clarifying, those are a little more difficult for me. But
Yeah.
if you're really going to leverage what I'm good at, you're going to leverage this idea of there's other ideas out there. There's other ways of doing that, and we should be throwing them out there and then testing them. So I love to ideate and then pilot, ideate and then pilot. Granted, I do realize
Yeah.
there's part of that needs to be developed before we go into pilot. It's just not my favorite part of it.
Yeah. Amazing. 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 This really speaks a whole lot of volumes in that you're an idealist and then you actually more like pilot each time you actually get into it. Also, at what point did you decide that creativities and play won't become part of your solution?
Well, I mean, when I was leading teams, I worked at Best Buy for a while, and I was leading the facilities team for their health division. And I think I really started to bring it in then. But it was the idea that I could bring creativity into business was actually sparked by one of my previous leaders. So she was the COO at Best Buy Health, the health division of Best Buy with us, and at Great Call. It was actually, she brought in, it was one January, I can't remember when it was like 2017, 2018. But she's like, I'm going to do this thing for our employees, and I'm going to offer these workshops at every location that we have, and I'll offer multiple of them so they can come. But it was called One Little Word workshops. So she had us think about what our one word for the year would be. What's our word that's going to help us succeed this year? So what's our word? Elevate, gratitude, whatever it may be, flourish. There's lots of words. I've done this a lot of times. But she had us choose a word and do some homework beforehand. So we had to find quotes that supported the word. We had to find articles that supported which direction we wanted to go this year.
Yeah.
And we came to this event where she brought, 10, 15, 20 people into the room. And here we are, we're thinking we're going to be talking about our one little world. She brought watercolor. So she sat down with us and like, we're going to do a little watercolor exercise. So let's talk about our one little word. And then let's create a watercolor one little word.
Ooh.
Right? I have it on my wall so I can pull it off really quickly. And so she brought this into the business, and not just in our corporate office, but in our call centers and in our data centers and just all over. And it opened up first off, it opened up dialogue to talk about what really was meant, what was really important to other people and value.
Yeah.
But it was a new way of doing it. So having that dialogue felt safer. It felt more natural. And then we walked away with a really cool piece of art that we could place on our walls and at our desks or in our cubicles or wherever it was that helped us, continue to work towards this goal. But even more so from a business perspective, by finding out what our personal goals were around this one little word, it helped us as leaders motivate the people below us and work towards a common goal, because we're actually serving the individual, not the masses. One size fits all actually is one size fits none. So we have to figure out a new way. So it was my leader, and I'm going to call her out. Her name is Lynn Herrick. She is an incredible leader, and her and I didn't start out as great friends in our relationship.
Yeah.
We created that friendship, and a big part of that was through her bringing in these new ideas and this creativity into the workplace, and it shifted our relationship, and she has been a huge mentor and impact on my decision to go this direction.
That's really amazing compared to an environment where you have been kind of, full with fear. This one was more playful and a lot of humor and a lot of motivation along the way. Yeah, amazing. So, what are some of the misconceptions our leaders have about what drive innovation in team?
Some of the misconceptions, I think, around it is it's like just work, 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 right? Sit down at the desk and be in technology and bury your head in it. So, especially now with AI, right? People go down there, oh, I can put ideas into AI and it just comes back out me and I got all these new ideas. And I keep trying to remind everybody, but every idea that you had, yes, there's new connections. They already exist. They wouldn't be in the LLM if they weren't already in existence. So the only way to create something brand new, completely novel, is to remove yourself from it, right? Like I saw something somewhere that's like all of our best ideas or the ideas that come to us is when we're in the shower or when we're walking the dog or when we're doing whatever, because our cognitive function goes into a different place when we step away from the responsibility. So that's another reason why I think it's really important to create these spaces in the workplace or in your workday where you can step away, get creative, play, spend time conversing about crazy ideas. But you have to create those environments. And so even in one of the workplaces I had, myself and the administrative team, we were piloting something. I'm like, let's pilot something. And we created creation stations. So we literally on each one of the floors in our building, we put out a table and, decorated it however, and we put out just, art supplies. So glue, scissors, construction paper, colored pencils, markers.
Yeah.
Things like ribbon, whatever it was that people could go and just create. And then, during Valentine's Day, we would bring all the things so you could make little Valentine's cards or whatever it was. Or on Mother's Day, so you could create your own Mother's Day cards and send them to your mothers. Father's Day, the same, right? So we had little things, but it would get people to step away from their office, step away from their desk, and just create 10, 15 minutes of creation can really get your brain working in a whole different way. And at first we thought like, oh, everyone's going to think this is crazy and stupid. We had so much great feedback.
Yeah.
And people talked about how, I was having a bad day and I was in this meeting and I couldn't shake it. And so I came out here and I created and I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
So it helped with communication. It helps you process thoughts when they're going wild. Just being able to step away from the environment and go into, almost a childlike space can make a huge difference in the way that you approach the rest of the day.
Yeah, amazing. And this just speaks volumes to a whole lot of things. When you have a whole lot of things you're bothering yourself about, and a whole lot of things, creative ideas you actually want to execute, sometimes it's just more like doing things, fumbling with your hands, make you lost thought. Yeah, why you just trying to figure out with your hands, trying to create something, your mind is wandering, and it's easier to actually gain answers to these particular things compared to sitting down, focusing on that meeting, which sometimes it doesn't produce the result compared to when you just leave out the things, fumble with your hand, create a craft, do something while your mind is just wandering, and
Right. Or
yeah,
even in a meeting when you have a product failure and you need to come up with rapid solutions and everyone's in the meeting and nothing's really moving forward. Leaders can pause and be like, "Hey, let's take a pause. Everyone pull out, here's a sticky note. We're going to do 90
yeah,
seconds, 90 seconds of doodling. I just pause the meeting and get everyone into a different mindset for just a minute. 90 seconds is all it really takes to reset, to move from logical brain to creative brain and then back and forth. And that movement between the two can surface new solutions that would have never been there had you not taken the moment to let the brain go in the way it wants to.
yeah, so true, amazing.
Right.
So, so when you reflect on your journey now, what has been the biggest shift in how you now see work and human potential?
Well, first off, I just think work should be fun all the time. Like even when it's not, we should find a way to make it that way.
Yeah,
So, and that's like what I say, pause and doodle or pause and do something. So that's probably one of the greatest shifts is I really do pause. I don't speak it as much as I now do it. Like I used to be like, we should pause and then keep going, right? Oh, well, that pause was 2 seconds long. Now I actually practice this idea of, hey, we're not coming to an agreement. Let's pause. Let's do something fun. Let's get our Legos out. I have Legos always. Like I have Legos right behind me.
yeah,
Let's get our Legos out and let's build something. Let's just get a post-it note and do a word that you feel right now. Or let's doodle, right? Just I now pause when things get challenging. When I'm starting to get frustrated, I'm more likely to pause than continue to try and push through it than I
mm,
ever did before. And that pause now usually includes a lot of creativity. So the playful outlets, the Legos, I have rubber chickens all over too.
yeah,
Rubber chickens. I have, colored pencils. I have these fun erasers that are in front of me that are they are the balancing rocks, but they're actually erasers. But so I'll
yeah,
knock them over and rebuild them. So been a huge shift for me is this idea that actually taking a minute or two to center is really a great way to move forward. I think when I was in the corporate world, it felt like a waste of time or there wasn't time to do it. And now that I'm serving the corporate world rather than being immersed in it,
yeah.
I take more time to say this is really important. And I'm hoping that I can teach leaders to do the same thing and create spaces for that to happen naturally.
Yeah, amazing. This is really lovely being that out. I think almost 60 to 70% of our life is spent working. So why not have fun while doing the work? And it's really amazing being that having this particular perspective and in kind of putting it to in part of your leadership and organization, make it easier for every day becomes more like yeah, a lovely moment where employees are looking forward to what are they going to kind of fumble with today, what are they going to learn it. That very way it drives this high energy other than then saying, "Ouch, I can't wait till weekend."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Well, and I think the other thing, bringing play and the creativity into your work helps people connect. And I don't have the research study in front of me, but I know there's research out there and quite a bit of it that actually states people stay with companies because they have relationships there. They have a best friend, they have good friends, whatever. So that you can actually have retention by creating space where people can connect on a different level. That you create again, create a space where inside jokes can
Yeah,
happen. The minute you start creating inside jokes, your relationships get deeper.
yeah,
So if you
yeah,
create those spaces just naturally into your meetings, even if it's 5 minutes of fun, 5 minutes of a different way of connecting, 3 minutes of opening up the door for voices that don't usually speak up to be heard. Making sure that when you are in that meeting, hey, we haven't had any fun yet. Let's do,
Yeah.
random, you could even do like rapid fire response and just this or this. There's so many things that we can do that take us back to just having fun. And we retain more, we learn more, and we're more likely to stay and build good relationships if we're taking time for that.
Yeah, so true. This is really amazing. So lastly, Vanya, what is one simple shift any leader can make today to start improving team engagement and performance?
One shift I would say today, an easy one, is in every meeting that you are leading or started off with a pause, with a really thoughtful moment. Because a lot of times when we're coming into meetings, we're all in different places. We've just left another meeting, we're doing something else, we have our laptops up and we're working on something else. Ask everyone in the meeting for just 60 seconds to pause and think about how they're showing up for this meeting today. So close your laptops, put everything aside, just 60 seconds. I'm putting on a timer and consider how you want to show up for you this meeting right now. And then
Mm,
rapid fire, after that 60-second pause, ask each one of them just to give one word. You're not going to say anything about it. You're not going to converse on it. What's the one way that you're showing up today? That
mm,
pause is a moment for reflection. The engaging everyone is a moment for every voice to be heard. And it's kind of fun because it's rapid fire. You have 1 second, just go, go, go,
yeah.
go, go, right? But it also, again, it's opened the door for everyone in that meeting to realize that you want to hear their voice and you want their input. So you started the meeting with a moment of mindfulness, a moment for them to be heard, valued, and seen, and the door is now open for that to continue. So that's my one. Here's what you can do. It only takes 3 minutes total, even in a
Yeah,
meeting of
I mean,
22 people. 3 minutes total.
yeah, amazing. I think this is really lovely being that though. At the end of the working season, at the end of the years you're spending of various working environments, the only thing you get to remember is how they make you feel. The lovely moment you have with those your teamwork and everything. And yeah, these are things that actually matters. And it's really amazing. You just speaking volumes to it. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So for my audience who would love to reach out to you, for leaders too who would love to reach out to you to incorporate this in their teams, and those who want to kind of hear more from you too, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
So you can always check out our website, www.playinove.com. That's PLAYINNOVE.com. Or if you want to email me, you can email me at engage, ENGAGE, at playinnovate.com. So either way, it's at playinnovate.com, but you can either check out our website or email me, and I'd be happy to talk more.
Yeah, thank you so much. Your stories highlight the powers of truths, innovation. Innovation doesn't start with system or strategy. It starts with people feeling safe. It feels safe enough to think and to create. Your journey shows that when organizations prioritize psychological safety and human connection, this engagement team can transform into environment where ideas thrive, real innovations happen. Yeah, it's really amazing having you on the show. And
Well,
thank you
thank
for the
you so
whole of
much for
story.
having me here, Arrow Benai. I appreciate it. This is great.